In Mexico, authorities reported that the situation on the U.S. Mexico border is normalizing after the Title 42 expired. Israeli forces continue to strike the Gaza Strip for the fourth day in a rout as a total death toll from airstrike rises to 31, including 6 children and 3 women. And Pakistan's top court granted former Prime Minister Imran Khan protection from arrest and ordered him free on bail. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. In Mexico, the Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard reported that the situation on the U.S. Mexico border is normalizing after the events of midnight when Title 42 expired to contain migration. At President Andrés Manuel López Obrador press conference at the National Palace, Ebrard read an updated report from the Ministry of Defense, according to which 10,000 migrants remain on the border of Ciudad Juárez and Matamoros, the ones with the highest concentration in the former and 5,000 in the latter, He considered that these are the normal numbers for those 2 places, the ones with the highest flow of migrants. There are also 500 in Baja California and 800 in Tamaulipas. The Foreign Secretary added that these migrants who apply for work and many others are being attended to, and that the conditions at the shelters are improving.
The flows decreasing today, and leads up to this hour, we have had no confrontation or situation of violence at the border. The United States is doing its part because they offer, as you may remember, 360,000 permits to those who made their documented procedure through this app. They are already more than 100,000. They are compliant.
The delegation of the government of Colombia and the National Liberation Army ELN met on Friday to the 10th day of sessions in the third cycle of peace talks being held in Havana, Cuba. The parties presented their papers on the participation of the Colombian society in the peace process and on the model of the bilateral and national ceasefire with which they intend to improve the situation of the population. According to the head of the ELN's dialogue delegation, Pablo Beltran, the days have been intense and that the agreements reached in the previous 2 cycles have been followed. Beltran points out that after a thorough review at internal agreement of the table was approved on Thursday that contemplates the roles and responsibilities of the aspects committed by the parties. As the fuego volcano in southern Guatemala returned to calm after its recent eruption, Guatemalans residing in the surrounding went back to their homes after spending 2 days in temporary shelters. The fuego volcano, which means fire in Spanish, is located about 50 kilometers west of Guatemala City. As one of the country's most active volcanoes, it erupted again on May the 4th, spitting lava and volcanic gases ash hitting over the 6,000 meters. The highly active status led to the closure of nearby roads and the evacuation of residents of the surrounding villages. On Thursday, the government of Canada sent members of its army to help Alberta province fight wildfires that have scorched forests and grasslands filled by the unusual hot and dry weather. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has stated that the Canadian forces were going to provide fighting support and relief resources, assist to the evacuation of isolated communities, and help keep people safe. Several Canadian provinces, as well as the U.S. state of Oregon and Alaska, had already sent almost 300 reinforcements to fight wildfires. Flash floodings from heavy rains killed dozens and affected 300,000 people in Ethiopia and Somalia in March 2023. The damaging flooding came after the region has experienced almost 3 years of extreme drought. According to the Corba Monitor reported in the first 25 days of March, parts of Ethiopia received 2 to 4 inches or more the rain that is usual for the period. On the other hand, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said heavy rains in the Ethiopian highlands overtop banks of the Shabelet and the Juba rivers, and homes, schools, and health facilities were destroyed along with banks of the two rivers in the southern Somalia and eastern Ethiopia. The Horn of Africa has seen almost 3 years of some of the worst drought conditions in history. Let's take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Russian Defense Ministry spokesperson Igor Konashenko confirmed on Friday that Moscow military repelled Ukrainian attack along a 95 kilometers stretch of the eastern front near the town of Bakhmut.
In the tactical direction of Soledar, the enemy yesterday carried out offensive operation along the entire line of contact, which is more than 95 kilometers long. The units of the armed forces of Ukraine have carried out 26 attacks, which involve over 1,000 servicemen, up to 40 tanks, and other military and special equipment. All the attacks of the units of the armed forces of Ukraine have been repelled. No breakthroughs through the defense of the Russian forces have happened.
Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang informed on Friday that the special representative for Eurasian affairs, the EU, will make a series of visits to Ukraine and other countries to hold consultations in the search of a political solution to the conflict between Kiev and Moscow.
We all worry about the situation, and we all call for peace and a political solution, which China, stands for and has been calling for since day one of the outbreak of the conflict. So China will continue to play a peaceful and a constructive role in facilitating peaceful and political solution to the crisis. China will send its special envoy to Ukraine in the near future.
Ukraine, Russia, Turkey, and the United Nations have yet to reach consensus on extending a deal allowing the safe Black Sea export of the Ukrainian grain after 2-day quadrilateral meeting that ended in Istanbul. According to Sven Dujarric, spokesman for the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the meeting was held with the participation of senior-level officials from Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and the United Nations. Participants in the meeting discussed the recent proposals by the United Nations, a longer extension of the deal, improvements at the joint coordination center for the stable operation and exports, and other uses rises by the parties. Turkey prepared for its general elections on Sunday, May the 14th. The Supreme Electoral Court The Council has authorized more than 60 million people to exercise the right to vote and define the President of the Republic and the Deputy Representative of the Grand Assembly. On Saturday, May the 13th, political propaganda concludes and the electoral silence begins on the same date at 18 local time. The electoral body informed that in this opportunity, more than 4.9 million people will vote for the first time. The overseas voting was held from April the 27th to May the 9th. In these Turkey elections, 4 presidential candidates are competing, but only 2 stands out as the most important. On one side, the current President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of the Justice and Development Party, AKP, supported by the Nationalist Action Party and 4 other Islamist parties. If Erdogan is the most voted, he will assume his third consecutive mandate, having been in the head of the government since 2003. On the other hand, it is the opposition leader, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, president of the Republican People's Party. Kılıçdaroğlu represents a large opposition coalition of 18 parties, including the Opposition People's Alliance, which is closely affiliated with the Kurdish Hezbollah, a Kurdish Islamic militant organization that the Turkish government has declared a terrorist organization. teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat IL 461 and join our Latin American alternative broadcast. One financial break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. As violence in Sudan continues for the 4th week, nearly 200,000 refugees and returners have been forced to flee the country, with more crossing borders daily seeking safety. According to a spokesperson of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Olga Sarrado, the number of Sudanese refugees on Chad territory has reached 60,000 since April the 15th. The capital of Sudan, Khartoum, is the epicenter of several clashes between the National Army and the military group Rapid Support Force.
As violence in Sudan continues for a 4th week, around 200,000 refugees and returnees have been forced to flee the country, with more crossing borders daily seeking safety. Additionally, hundreds of thousands have been internally displaced, with many more people confined to their homes and unable to access necessities.
Israeli forces continued to strike the Gaza Strip for the 4th day in the route on Friday, bringing the toll from airstrikes to 31, including 6 children and 3 women. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, 31 people, including 6 children and 3 women, have been killed, and 93 others, including 32 children and 17 women, have been injured in the last 4 days of Israeli force air attacks. The statement came after the ministry announced the death of a Palestinian young man who succumbed to his injuries sustained during an Israeli raid in northern Gaza. And as Israeli strikers continue to target Gaza in Beit Hanun, Palestinian Saba Al-Qadir showed her desperation after her house was destroyed by one of their strikes.
Yesterday, we were minding our own business, and my daughters were with me. All of a sudden, I looked from the window and saw boys running and shouting that our house has been bombarded. Where shall I go? Where shall I stay? There's nothing left. No bed, no shelter. My clothes are gone. Everything is gone.
In this regard, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society on Thursday called on international organizations to pressure Israel in order to open a humanitarian corridor that allows medical supplies and humanitarian aid into the besieged Gaza Strip. The organization has stated that Israeli occupation checkpoints surrounding Gaza remains closed for the fourth consecutive day, heralding a humanitarian crisis in the face of a severe shortage of medical supplies and material in the health system. A high court in Pakistan on Friday granted former Prime Minister Imran Khan protection from arrest in a grave case and ordered him free on bail. Friday's ruling by the Islamabad High Court gave the former premier protection from arrest on one of the several corruption cases against him for a period of 2 weeks a form of interim bail that usually is renewed in the Pakistan judicial system. Meanwhile, Imran Khan appeared at court on a bail hearing on Friday after the Supreme Court ruled unlawful his arrest this week that triggered deadly clashes across the country. On Friday, the Secretary General of the Hezbollah movement of Lebanon, Hassan Nasrallah, renewed his support to Palestine in the fight against aggressions and the Israeli occupation. On the occasion of the 17th anniversary of the martyrdom of Mustafa Dar al-Din, the leader of the Lebanese Islamic resistance praised the heroism of the Palestinian people and their fighters in responding to the new attack of Tel Aviv troops in the Gaza Strip. Nasrallah said that Israeli Premier Benjamin Netanyahu is trying to hide the fragmentation in the coalition government through aggressions.
We are in constant contact with the leaders of the factions and we are monitoring their situation and all developments minute by minute. We are providing all possible help within certain limits. But I would like to add that at any time, if the responsibility falls on us to make a move or more, we will not hesitate to do so, God willing.
The number of missing people in Kenya linked to the activity of the Christian sect known as the Mackenzie Church is already over 600. Kenyan authorities reported that 179 bodies were found on land used by the Christian sect in the wooded area of Shagahola, leading to the arrests of the group leader who might be charged with terrorism. The police commissioner of the coastal region of Roda Onyansh said that 72 members of the sect have been rescued alive in the county of Kilifi, where the effects took place. Police sources informed that the number of people arrested for the death of the members of the Mackenzie Church remains at 25. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials from Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.